Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam has expressed deep regret at what she calls interference by foreign parliaments. She says the government will not allow the U.S. to become a stakeholder in the city's matters. Mrs. Lam also says she scrapped the unpopular extradition bill because she was sincere about starting dialogue with Hong Kongers. Now, for more on this, we're joined by our correspondent, Leong Wai Kit, and he is in Hong Kong. Wai Kit, so Chief Executive Carrie Lam, we know she's withdrawn the bill, but it seems that that hasn't done much to actually quell the unhappiness. So the question is, what could her next move be?
Well, Glenda, after having met Chief Executive Mrs. Carrie Lam on Tuesday morning and also having attended another separate press conference later on, it's become very clear to me that the authorities in general are appealing to Hong Kong citizens to help quell violence. Now, earlier, Mrs. Carrie Lam made a very emotional appeal telling Hong Kong citizens to say no to violence if they don't condone it. She says that violence has divided society, violence has bred hatred. And at a separate press conference, the police officers, echoed that same sentiment. They said that they've seen members of the public getting into heated arguments and conflicts because of differences in political views. And earlier at the press conference at the police headquarters in Wan Chai, the police say that they've introduced 10 WhatsApp hotlines for members of the public to tip them off, send them videos, send them photographs or voice recordings to help them quell violence that may occur across Hong Kong. And the other takeaway from that press conference is that off-duty police officers now can take home with them their police batons.
Yeah, Wai Kit, speaking of that, how has reaction been to that decision to issue batons to off-duty police officers?
Well, Steve, you can imagine that it's not going to sit very well with members of the public. Even during the press conference, many questions were directed at the police, and they were along the lines of, concerns of police brutality, of whether police would fully identify themselves when they use the batons, when they're off duty. And this also comes at a very difficult time for the police because there's a very general sense of mistrust between the public and the police. And I say this because every time I'm out on the streets covering the protests, I see residents collectively coming out to curse at the police officers, to swear at them, to chant anti-police slogans. Of course, this does not reflect the whole of Hong Kong society, but these are the observations I've made when I'm covering the ground. But if we take this topic to the other end of the spectrum, to where the law enforcers are, we'll have to see how they see this topic. The law enforcers say that generally there's a sense of lawlessness in Hong Kong and that violence could break out anytime. So it's very important, they say, for officers to be fully equipped to deal with them even when they're off duty. And this also comes on the back of a recent incident when an off-duty police officer stepped out of the police station and was attacked by men wielding knives. Of course, the police say that there will be a lot of discretion used when they decide to use the batons when they're off duty.
Wai Kit, you mentioned there are a lot of unhappiness, lawlessness, but rail operator MTR, they even had to actually release screenshots of security footage in a bid to debunk rumors that people died in a police operation. Does it look like Hong Kongers are satisfied with that?
Well, Glenda, I must say that this is not the first time that the authorities are trying to quell that rumor, the rumor that people died on August 31st when police stormed into an MTR station for enforcement actions. There have been many instances where they tried to correct this fake news through press releases, through interviews, through press conferences. And when I'm covering the ground in Hong Kong, when police officers speak into their loudhailers to disperse the crowds, they will also take the opportunity to tell people that nobody died at the MTR station. So the fact that they had to do this so many times tells us two things. One, that there is indeed mistrust between people and the authorities, that they're taking a lot more time to digest what the authorities are trying to tell them. Or two, the fact that people may believe that there is no death, but could still use this as an excuse to lash out at the authorities.
Okay, thanks for that. Wai Kit speaking to us in Hong Kong. Well, let's take up the point about the release of screenshots from the MTR's security video. It's part of a concerted effort to debunk rumors, as we said, that a police operation on 31st August left 3 people dead.
The release of the screenshots follows a joint news conference today involving MTR Corporation, the Hong Kong Police and Hospital Authority. Authorities maintained there were no deaths and condemned the spread of malicious rumors.
We will continue our battle and hope more people in Germany support free elections.
Meanwhile, Beijing has slammed as disrespectful a meeting between Hong Kong activist Joshua Wong and the German foreign minister. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesman said the meeting constituted an interference in China's internal affairs.
Joshua Wong has spent the past 2 weeks trying to drum up international support. After Berlin, he's expected to travel to the United States next week to discuss a bill allowing the U.S. to impose sanctions on Chinese and Hong Kong officials.
How Hong Kong people are passionate and